Today, we are diving into a book that takes one of the most famous stories in history and completely flips it on its head. And it all starts with one simple but really provocative question. What if Jesus lived not 2,000 years ago in some distant land, but right here, right now, in 21st century London? What if his miracles didn't happen on ancient hillsides, but maybe during the morning rush on the tube? That is the startling and fascinating question at the heart of this book. The author, M.B. Lorenz, has a term for this. He calls it a total cultural transposition. And that's the key here. This isn't just a simple update, it's about literally lifting the entire narrative, the people, the problems, the core messages, and dropping them right into the hustle and bustle of modern London.
And this is what comes out of it, the gospel according to London. The whole idea is to take these ancient, foundational stories and just see what happens. What do they look like when you set them in the city's landscape of today, from the high-rises of the city to the estates in South London?
And the detail here is just brilliant. The Sea of Galilee, well, that becomes the River Thames. The disciples aren't fishermen. They're a group of mates in a people carrier. The Pharisees, the religious authorities of the day, are recast as hedge fund managers. And the Roman soldiers? Yep, they're the Metropolitan Police. Absolutely every piece of the puzzle finds its modern London match. So how does this actually look in practice? Let's kick things off with maybe the most famous story of them all, the Nativity. Only this time, it's remixed for the inner city.
So, the story doesn't start with a decree from Caesar Augustus. Oh no, it starts with something way more familiar to us, a notice from HMRC. There's a new self-employed register and everyone has to file in their borough of origin. So for Joseph, who's a labourer on the Crossrail project, that means he's got to get his partner Mary, who is 9 months pregnant by the way, all the way back to his home borough, Peckham.
And just like in the original, there's no room at the inn. But here, it's a painfully modern problem. They get to London, and of course, everything's full. You check online, the budget hotels are all sold out. The hostels up near King's Cross are saturated. They are completely and utterly stuck, with nowhere to go in this massive, sprawling, and pretty indifferent city.
And this is where that transposition gets really gritty and real. The stable? It's a cold, damp lock-up garage. The manger that the baby is placed in? It's a plastic vegetable box. The swaddling clothes are just a tea towel. And the shepherds who see the angels? They're lorry drivers taking a break in a transport cafe on the Old Kent Road. It's so mundane, so urban, and yeah, so instantly recognizable.
Okay, so that's the birth, but what about all the supernatural stuff, right? What about the miracles? Well, the book tackles those by grounding them in some equally modern and sometimes pretty funny settings.
All right, let's take the very first miracle, the wedding at Cana. In this version, it's a super cool hipster wedding in Shoreditch. You can just picture it, can't you? Exposed brick, neon signs, the whole vibe. And then the absolute worst case scenario, a total social disaster strikes. They run out of craft beer and Prosecco. I mean, for this crowd, the party is basically over.
So Jesus steps in, he tells the catering staff to do a few simple everyday things. First, go fill 6 of those big office water dispensers with regular tap water, then pour some out and take it to the party planner. And just like that, the plain old tap water becomes a perfect, crisp craft lager.
And the reaction from the best man who's running the show is just priceless. He tastes it, he's blown away. He pulls the groom aside and says, "Mate, you've saved the proper stuff for now. This lager is banging." The dialogue is so authentic, it makes this ancient story feel like it could have happened last Saturday night.
So, from miracles, the book then moves on to reimagining the parables. Those timeless moral stories. But instead of being told on dusty roads in Galilee, they're set on places like the A23.
So let's look at the parable of the Good Samaritan. In this retelling, it's a venture capitalist. His Tesla gets broken into on the A23, and he's left shaken up and stranded on the roadside. His phone and wallet both gone.
So who's going to stop to help? Well, first we see a management consultant drive by. He sees the guy, but he's busy, so he just switches lanes and carries on. Then a local councillor sees him, but she's preoccupied and passes by on the other side. But finally, a small business owner from Croydon pulls over. He offers first aid and even pays for the man's taxi home. It leaves you with that same timeless question, who was the real neighbor here?
Look, this is all a really fascinating concept, but you have to ask, what's the point? Why go to all the trouble of retelling these stories? Well, the author is really clear about the purpose behind the whole project.
At the very heart of the book is this one central belief. which is captured perfectly in the introduction. The author says that grace is not a relic of the past, but a living, pulsing force that manifests itself on the Northern Line in a cafe near King's Cross. The whole point is to try and find the profound, the sacred, right here in our own modern, everyday lives.
And when you look at it that way, the book really becomes a mirror for modern London. It shows us how these timeless themes aren't just for ancient figures, they're playing out in people we see every day. The battle between sin and redemption, that's happening inside a Canary Wharf financier. Despair and faith, they're right there in an exhausted delivery rider. The sacred isn't hidden away somewhere. It's found in the solidarity of a neighborhood. It's a divine light just waiting to be noticed in the daily grind.
So in the end, the goal isn't to replace the original Gospels at all. It's more of a creative exercise. It's designed to kind of shock us into recognition, to make us see that these core themes of love, betrayal, redemption, and grace, they aren't just old stories we read about. They are living, active forces all around us, in our colleagues, our neighbors, and yeah, in ourselves.
And that really brings us to the main takeaway. The book basically leaves us, the reader, with a challenge. It invites us to look at our own lives, our own cities, and ask a really simple but profound question. Where is the extraordinary in your everyday?